Good morning, welcome back guys. The news are just flooding in. We are getting the new ban list, which is to be expected because we are getting tier elements in round about 2 weeks, and the new ban list will be in effect on April the 9th, which should be like 2, 3, maybe 4 days before we then get tier elements finally. So we are expecting to see some tier element hits here on the list. Let's take a look and keep in mind that we just had the Duelist Cup. I analyzed the top 100 decks. You can see the video in the right corner, and the ban list is always like navigating with the Duelist Cup top 100 in sight. So decks that performed too good in the Duelist Cup, they probably will get a hit. And yeah, let's see what we have here. So the first thing we can see is Altergeist Multifaker. So this is cards to be unlimited. Altergeist Multifaker goes from 2 to 3. There are always a lot of cards on the ban list that like get unbanned because they were banned like a few ban lists ago when the deck really was a problem. So you can think of maybe Branded Despia when Aluba got hit and went to 2, or maybe Branded Opening got hit and went to 2. I guess you could now just get these two cards and put them back to 3, and it would be totally okay, because in this new meta environment these cards are no longer super good or uber imba and too strong for the deck, but this mostly happens over time. So you will see cards coming back to 3 or maybe being unbanned that were on the list for a long time. This normally takes a lot of time and of course will make the Altergeist strategy way better. This is like a core card, a really important card. I hate this deck. It's super, it has so long games. It always summons these guys back on the field. I played like, I guess 5 to 10 games in my career against Altergeist, and all the time I hated this crap. Then the next one is Soul Eating Oviraptor. So the Dino deck gets another consistency card back. I think these two here are fine because neither Altergeist nor Dinos are super strong dominating decks. So I think it's really cool, and it's a good idea to give decks that are more in the rogue category like these two their resources back, so they can become better decks and maybe be meta contenders again. I think this is really cool. This is also really good for the community because if you people already have these decks, already have these cards, then your deck just became better without you really needing to invest like gems. Of course, you need to craft a third Oviraptor or Multifaker, which they are ultra rares, but yeah. You don't need to buy like 1,000 packs of new cards with a complete new archetype, for example tier elements, but the archetype is already in the game. Oh, so the next one is Super Polymerization. Interesting. Of course, this is kind of a board breaker. If you don't know it, you discard one card and then you can fuse with your field side and your opponent's field. This, of course, is a good card against tier elements, but needs you to have fusion monsters that you can use in the extra deck. So I'm not quite sure if this was like put to 3 because of tier elements. I think that we can see situations where tier element mirrors will use this against each other. That would make sense. Otherwise, of course, Despia will probably use this against the tier element strategy because they themselves have a fusion deck. Other than that, I do not think that many decks will use this because, as I already said, you need a fusion deck, a working fusion deck, to have this going. Maybe hero decks can also use this at 3 against the tier element strategy, but that's basically it. That's all I can think of. Of course, you have like Dinomorphia who have fusion monsters, but they do not fuse their monsters. They summon them to the field via other effects. So interesting, but I think not too relevant in the current format. I mean, maybe we will see tier element decks running 3 of these against other tier element decks. That could be the case, but we will have to see. Divine Wind of Mist Valley. I don't know this card. Once per turn, if a wind monster you control returns to the hand, you can special summon one level 4 from your deck. So this you can use or could use in Fluonoris because your wind monsters come back from your banished pile to your hand. But yeah, I think this is like an artifact of a once really strong deck, I think, that now isn't strong anymore, and the cards are like gradually coming back. I think this is nothing, and nothing that will concern the meta game or does concern any real meta deck that we have right now. This, on the other hand, Galatea, the Orchest automaton, this is for obviously the Orchest deck. We have seen, I think, Orchest Harp Horror going from 2 to 3 on the last ban list, I think. So they are giving the Orchest theme more power back. This is pretty interesting. You can play Orchest Magnite. Magnite are these cards that like work when cards are in the same column, then they have an effect, and they can change their column to have bonus effects. So yeah, that's quite cool. I think the Orchest slash Magnite theme isn't like overpowered, so giving them resources back, as I already said. Same with here, the Dino package. I think that's always really cool and good for the community, good for the development of the game. Spellbook of Judgment, another thing that once was hit on the ban list because the Spellbook engine, maybe some guys or some of you have seen the Spellbook engine, was once really strong. Kind of like the adventure engine, but the adventure engine is at the moment the stronger engine. This is rarely used, and I think this will be rarely used in the future, even if this goes to 3. And obviously you can also play this in Witchcrafter, but yeah, this can, I think, go to 3 without having any impact. So until now, we mainly, like Super Poly does not count, have seen cards that are just okay, that were put on the ban list like a few ban lists ago, and now we can get them back from the ban list into the game. Cool thing being about Master Duel, by the way, in comparison to TCG and OCG, is that we are getting a ban list basically every month, like in every other online card game. But this obviously is the good thing about an online card game, where the TCG and OCG have to wait longer to have their ban lists. And Spiral Quick Fix, so yeah, we have seen good Spiral support when the Illusion of Chaos came out, but to be honest, I have not seen the deck since. Of course, this is one of the core cards for the Spiral archetype, because it can add you a Spiral Gear card from your deck to your hand. This is a Searcher. Searchers are always strong for an archetype. This goes from 2 to 3, obviously making the deck more consistent. Interesting, this in TCG and OCG is still at 1, so they have not yet started getting the Spiral cards back from the ban list, but I think they could do it, and it would not hurt the game there. But this is the cool thing about a monthly ban list. You can like much faster get these cards back in the game that were banned a long time ago and are now not too strong. Okay, these are the cards. Oh yeah, cards 37 limited. Oh, Runic Fountain. Okay, that was quite clear, because as I already said in the video yesterday, like the Runic pure stun deck was pretty successful in the event in the Duelist Cup. There were a lot of lists, and we saw yesterday that a lot of people had attacks against these against the Runic strategy in their deck. There was also this this deck list that was posted here. That was the second. I showed you this yesterday with the Inspector Border. We looked at the deck list, and this at one time had a like 68% win rate in the Duelist Cup at the top levels, which is quite crazy. So as I already said, Konami always looks at the Duelist Cup and yeah, picks the data and looks at, okay, what can we do, what can we address with a ban list, and Runic is getting hit. Runic Fountain 2/2. Obviously the pure Runic variant is hurt by this. It's cool for me because I can get ultra rare crafting points back. Yes, and I guess this is like the end of not the end, sorry, I was thinking the wrong way. I want to say that like Sprite Runic always only ran this at 2, so for them it's okay. But yeah, the pure Rune deck will get slaughtered even more, and I think all in all this is a good thing, because the Runic stun strategy is just unfun to play against. So my theory is that the game is fun to play when the game is interactive. So interactive means that you can do a lot on your turn, you can play your game, and maybe also do something on your opponent's turn. That's the reason why I think decks like Through on the Reese, like with the little birds, are very fun to play, because I really like to play the deck, but I hate to play against the deck, because the deck basically plays its own turn and then plays a whole turn on your turn, and that's annoying. But playing the deck, it's quite fun, because you always get to do something. Same with this deck. When you play I didn't had that much fun playing the pure Runic variant, because With Runic, you often end up in the situation that you basically lock down the field with floodgates, and then your opponent cannot do anything, and then you have to grind them down. And that is not even fun when you play it, and obviously not fun when you play against it. So I think they are removing these kind of strategies from the game, and I think it's a good thing. I think they are losing players when a deck like Runic or extremely floodgatey decks are the best decks in the game. I think that hurts them, hurts the game. So that is a good decision, I think, in the long term. And they also hit Runic Tip. Okay, another ultra rare for me. That's at least nice. Okay. So this obviously hurts the Sprite Runic archetype now. So we have a lot of things in the Runic. Runic got hit so often. I mentioned this yesterday in the video. Like on the last ban list, nearly every spell got to 2. Amano Ivato got hit to 1. Then we had before the Card of Demise, the Pot of Duality, so they tried everything. They are hitting the floodgates in form of, I think Skill Drain was hit, Rivalry was hit, there can only be one, Amano Ivato. They are hitting the Runic core cards, Tip, Fountain, Destruction. They are hitting the draw engine of the deck, Pot of Duality, Card of Demise. They are destroying this deck. It's crazy. And that's a bit sad because in the future there are also coming some new cool new cards. For example, the Naturia cards or the new Naturia cards. And then there is a Naturia Runic deck, which isn't a Floodgate deck. It's just like the Sprite Runic deck was. It creates advantage through resources. And I think playing the Sprite Runic was cool and playing against it was also okay. I think in the Sprite Runic deck, the Runic archetype did not really show its toxicity. It's the pure form that is really toxic and annoying. And there are other cards coming, the Furhire cards coming in the future, which can also work together with this. So it's a bit sad that this engine gets hit so hard, but I think you can still use it. It's only weaker because obviously Tip going to 2, this is the best Runic card because this can search every other Runic card. Talking about searchers, good cards in the game. And yeah. But yeah, okay, Runic getting hit, I think, as I already said, this is a good development for the game. But in the upcoming tier limit Ishizu format, Runic, wouldn't have been a strong deck anyway. So this is not especially tuned for the Runic, for the upcoming format, but this is more because this performed good in the Duelist Cup. Oh, then we have Necrophies 3-2. I like this a lot because this, in my opinion, this was a really annoying deck. I mill your whole deck in the first turn and then I pass over to you and you are dead. This is even more annoying than playing against Runic because you can maybe free yourself from the stun that Runic puts onto you, but obviously you cannot win if your opponent just mills your whole deck in the turn 1 and then passes over to you and you are dead. And obviously Necrophies helps them with that, as Necrophies, if banished, banishes 5 cards from the top of the deck. And the banish effect makes it even worse because sometimes when they mill 5 cards into your graveyard, you get also some cool effects that you can use, but obviously you won't get them when the cards get banished. I like this. I would have liked this to going to Forbidden. This card is annoying, and I really like that they're hitting these Ishizu Chaos archetypes that mill all the time. But as I already said, I don't think that these mill decks will be there in the future. Obviously, Tier Lament will also mill their cards, but not with the idea of milling the opponent out, but with the idea of fusing with their Tier Lament names from the graveyard. Thunder Dragon Hawk from 1 to 2. Okay, they are slowly unlimiting the Thunder Dragon cards. This again I think is super cool and super fun because Thunder Dragon is not an oppressive deck. It's more of a rogue deck, and I think it's really cool to unlimit cards that are in such decks, in rogue decks, to make them even more competitive and have more variety, more games in the meta, more decks in the meta that are strong. This is a good step, I think. They still have the fusion monster, the Thunder Dragon Colossus at 1, but yeah, slowly but surely they are unlimiting cards that are not dangerous in archetypes that aren't dangerous, and I really like it. Cards to be limited, Skill Drain, oh no! Oh no, I don't like this. Um, don't get me wrong. I think overall for the game this is a good decision. I don't like this because one of my favorite decks is Labyrinth, and Labyrinth will become will get cool support in the future, which makes it even stronger. I really love the deck, but Skill Drain is pretty core card in the deck, a pretty important card. In the TCG you can play this at 3, so that's why the deck in TCG is quite good. In OCG this is also at 1, so for those of you who do not know, our ban list is always inspired from the OCG more than it is from the TCG. Obviously we have triple max C, the TCG has no max C, and the OCG has also triple max C, so that is where the difference starts. Other than that, as I already said, I think for the game it's healthy to like get rid of these floodgates. I think Skill Drain at 1 is fine. I also think at 2 it was fine, but yeah, it's at 1 now. Why is this a problem in Master Duel more than it is in, for example, TCG? I think the main reason being that this is best of 1, and the problem is if you see this card and you have no tech in your deck against this card, then yeah, it's basically over. So for example, let's say you're playing Sword Soul. I always had this in the past. I'm playing Sword Soul and I don't have like a Happy's Feather Duster or Cosmic Cyclone in the deck, because why would I don't need it. It's just like wasted space. But then I couldn't out this thing. Like there was no card in my deck that could destroy this card. Sword Soul Blackout could, but like one card in the deck, okay? Or maybe with Branded Despia also was pretty hard. I think with Branded Despia it was like impossible to out this card if you don't have like Feather Duster or something. And then you are basically, I don't want to say the word because I'm not sure what YouTube will do, but you are, it's looking bad for you. Let's just say that. And of course in TCG as well as in OCG, there is, in OCG most of the time a best of 3 format, so you have a side deck. So if you see things like these floodgates, you then can side stuff out and in for that. You can side in your Cosmic Cyclones, your Happy's Feather Duster, and then you can better deal with these cards. So I think for our here best of 1 Master Duel, it's okay. Rivalry of Warlords and okay goes match. I wanted to scroll down. Okay, on the other floodgates also going to 1. Ugh, that's rough for Labyrinth. It's sad, but I think the Labyrinth will still be good in the future. But that's pretty rough. Pretty rough also for the pure Runic stun deck. This again was inspired from the Duelist Cup, where of course every Runic deck would play all of these at 2, because you can lock the entire field of your opponent down with these cards. And yeah, as I already said, I think for the game it's a good decision. Herald of the Orange Light, this is the first like change we are seeing that is specifically tailored towards the elements in the TCG and OCG. This is at 1. Why is that so? This is a card negation. This is a negation of an activation of a card. And you have to discard one other fairy monster from your hand to the graveyard. So in the Telement deck, you would run this card at 3, and then you would also run the Diviner of the Herald. You would also run, obviously, the Ishizu cards, and then you can negate your opponent's cards with these cards, and then also get your Ishizu cards in the grave, which then can mill cards, and then you can fusion summon from the graveyard. So this is super strong in Telements, and I was expecting that they are like putting this to 1. This card was put to 1 in TCG and OCG because of Telements. That was the only reason. So this is another card that we could see coming back from the ban list when Telement has left. Then this card can come back from the ban list. This is a good example of what they are doing further up the list that we just looked at. So I like this. I like this a lot. And yeah, we can see they are preparing for Telements. Is this enough? I don't know, but I am quite sure that the Telement cards themselves will have limits on them. I can imagine that maybe every good Telement card, every Telement monster name, and the Spielfell. I always want to say this. The field spell. Damn it! This is the Spielfell. The field spell will, I think, also be at 2 when we get this. But let's see how they do it. And the deck will still be tier 0 if this happens, so they can freely do this. It's no problem. Oh, a Floris and the Magnificent Map. This is the field spell for the Floris theme. I mean, they can search it via the terraforming. It's not that bad, but obviously this is a consistency hit. But yeah, at OCG it's also at 1, so they just copied this. I will say in a future video and show you a deck list where I think Floris is one of the best counters against Telements. I still think it is a good counter against Telements, even though they keep hitting this deck for some reason. I don't like like it because this being a good counter against steel elements, I would have like kept this at full strength. My opinion, to have a good counter, but they are like continue to hit this. I think last Banlist they also hit something from the Flu on the Reese theme, and then I think, okay, that is it. These are the full changes. Okay, so I like these changes here. These are like consistency changes for like not too strong decks, minus this. This also a consistency change. I like it. And then again, these are the real important things, like for tier elements, for the Runic, and all the stun variants here for this annoying like I mill your decks. I mill your whole deck decks. I like that this is going to 2. They could hit this more, in my opinion. And then, unfortunately, Flan Louise gets hits again. I think you could have waited and just let Flan Louise play in the tier limits meta and then see if it needs a hit. But yeah, it is what it is. This comes in effect at April 9th. Awesome that you were here. Please consider to subscribe. This helps me out a lot. And we will see each other in the next.